Welcome to Lecture 9 on cognitive biases. A husband and wife gets into an argument. The wife says the husband never puts the toilet seat down. The husband says he always puts the toilet seat down. How is this possible? Are they lying to each other? Is one of their realities distorted? Or both of their realities distorted? We are not aware of our cognitive biases. They affect the way we argue. They affect the way we think. Often our cognitive biases are related to logical fallacies. We frequently, in our everyday life, we use heuristics. Heuristics are these rules of thumb that we use to make our decisions. They're mental shortcuts. It's what we would consider common sense. Heuristics are good when they work. They're a way of simplifying very, very complex decisions. A good example of a heuristic is trial and error. We've all used trial and error. Heuristics may be right, but again, they may be wrong. They are practical when we're aware that we're using them, and they're dangerous when we're not. They can lead to confusing the map with the territory. This is where a problem will come with heuristics. One of the heuristics we use is called anchoring. This is where we focus on one feature of something. This is used widely in marketing. It is often the very, very first feature that we focus on. For example, digital cameras are frequently marketed or advertised by the pixels that they have. Although that is only one feature of a digital camera. There's a whole string of features that you may be more interested in, that may be a greater criteria for whether you buy that camera or not. Frequently with computers, it's what's the RAM, what's the speed. But there's all sorts of other features that you need to also focus on. But we have a strong tendency to simply focus on one. This is called anchoring. Another heuristic that we use is availability. We have a strong tendency to reach for the familiar, the recent, the vivid, the personal, and the emotional. When we see disasters and crime in the media on a regular basis, we tend to think that they're actually more common than they really are. Soap opera watchers have a strong tendency to believe that the number of doctors and lawyers in our population is significantly higher than the population really is, because that's the type of people, that's the occupations that are frequently portrayed on soap operas. It's why so many office romances occur, simply because that person's around, they're available. We also have a strong tendency to rely on anecdotal evidence. These anecdotal evidence are personal stories. We are compelled, we love stories. Human beings love stories, especially when those stories are emotional. We fall for them all the time. We like to hear personal stories. As well as the escalation of commitment. We have a strong tendency to stick to a commitment once we've made that commitment, even when there's contradictory evidence. Even when that commitment is a losing proposition, we have a very strong tendency to stick to that commitment because we made it. It's where the phrase comes, don't throw good money after bad, is to recognize that you've made this commitment and it might not be such a good commitment. Now let's reevaluate this thing. The representative heuristic tells us that causes should actually resemble their effects. Large effects should have large causes. The JFK assassination is one of the prime examples of this. Was how is it possible that this one lone nut killed the President of the United States? How is it this one guy, nobody knew, is an absolute nobody, assassinated the leader of our country? We want to believe that JFK was such a humongous person, it would have taken a major corporation, a major conspiracy in order to assassinate him, not just one thing, not just one little lone guy. Another of the heuristics we use is magical thinking. We want to believe in superstitions. It gives us cause where things happen for a reason. This is where sympathetic magic comes in. Sympathetic magic is the basis of things like homeopathy, that like cures like. We also have an effort heuristic. We tend to value items because of the effort that we put into them. The more effort we put into them, the more we value them. And a good example of this effort heuristic is called the found money effect. That we value money that we earned more than we value money that we found. That if I just found $100 on the street, I'm more likely to spend that $100 frivolously than I am to spend my own $100 that I earned. Even though in reality the money that I earned and the money that I found has exactly the same value. This is the found money effect because I put effort into earning one pile of money and I had no effort in earning the other pile of money. The confirmation bias is probably our most negative, pervasive influence on our thinking. The confirmation bias, this is where we notice events that confirm our belief, and we don't notice or we ignore events that are contradictory to our belief. So we accept the information that's in alignment with what we believe, and we reject the information that's not in alignment with what we believe. This is how that husband and wife could have this argument. He remembers every time he put the seat down, but he doesn't remember every time he left it up. She remembers every time he left it up, but she doesn't remember every time he put it down. We fall under this confirmation bias. How about this one? The toupee bias. This word comes where people say, I can always tell when a man is wearing a toupee. I can just look at him and tell. You're wearing a toupee, you're wearing a toupee, you're wearing a toupee, you're not, you're not, you're not. The only way we can confirm this is you actually take a sample of people, take 1,000 men, ask somebody, let them go around and say, who of these 1,000 men are wearing a toupee? And then actually confirm how many of these 1,000 men are actually wearing a toupee. This is confirmation bias. How about the lunar effect? The lunar effect is a neat one. This is this optical illusion. Are you under the belief that during full moons, crime rates increase? During full moons, people behave crazier. During full moons, there are more automobile accidents. During full moons, things go wrong more often. Things are in more chaos. A lot of people have that belief. This is an error. People in the emergency room, there's a major crisis day, say, it's incredibly hectic today, it must be a full moon. They remember the times they walk outside and look up and go, hey, it's a full moon, I confirm it. They don't remember the times when they walk outside and it's not a full moon. This confirmation bias where we confirm the stuff that we believe and we ignore, we forget, we don't even notice when it doesn't fit with our belief system. The congruency bias, we have a strong tendency to accept, very similar to the confirmation bias. We have a strong tendency to accept those things that kind of fit in with what we believe, that are congruent with what we believe, and we don't accept the things that don't fit in with what we believe. The congruency bias. So other beliefs that fit in with our beliefs, we accept these. Other beliefs that don't fit in with our beliefs, we don't accept these things. We have a strong tendency to value more highly things that we're exposed to more often. Simple as that. We value things more highly that we're exposed to more often. And the more you're exposed to it, the more you value it. It's one of the reasons that commercials play over and over and over and over again, because every time they play, you're exposed to that product. And every time you're exposed to that product, you start creating this value system that this is more valuable, this is more valuable. We have a strong tendency to believe that those products we see advertised on a regular basis are more valuable, more effective than those products we don't see advertised. And we have a choice bias. We assess our decisions favorably. And we assess our decisions favorably, we rationalize, we justify our decisions, and part of this rationalization, part of this justification is to downgrade those things we didn't choose. So you go to the store and you buy a pair of shoes, and you had 15 different choices to choose from. You, in your mind, value that choice, and you justify your choice a lot more favorably than all of the other choices. And you downgrade your second choice. If I was to say, you know what, no, you can't have these, go and choose another pair of shoes, chances are you would bypass your second choice and go to your third or your fourth choice, because you've spent so much time degrading already your second choice in order to make your first choice look better. We justify our decisions. And we have a fundamental attribution error. We have a very strong tendency to assign personality qualities for behaviors in other people, but external situations affect our behavior. You're the tripping on the sidewalk example. You're walking down the sidewalk and you trip. You blame the sidewalk. You blame the person who made the sidewalk. You blame those people around you. You see somebody else trip on the sidewalk and you say, oh, what a klutz. You blame the personality characteristic for this. The fundamental attribution error. And we are wishful thinkers. The whole lottery industry is based on wishful thinking. We're biased toward favorable ideas that are emotionally appealing to us, regardless of the industry. We're incredibly biased toward those emotionally appealing ideas. The Forer effect, also known as the Barnum effect. This is, in class I have a handout for this, so if you're seeing this on video and you haven't been to class, look under document sharing and you'll be able to pull up the Forer effect document. This is where we make very specific interpretations of very vague descriptions. This is how those astrological forecasts could be so could be so accurate, because they're very, very vague descriptions, and yet in our brain we interpret these specifically to our lives. Thinking errors lose power when we're aware of them. Thinking errors lose power when we're able to use our critical thinking skills to overcome them. That's what this course is about, is to be able to use your critical thinking skills to overcome these thinking errors, so you will be conned, you'll be manipulated less often. In our next lecture, we're going to look at how poor we are really at probability.